Good morning. It is Monday. Yes, it's the 20th of January. And yes, today is going to be tremendous. It's going to be the greatest. Stop it. Stop it, Leigh-Ann Mol. You know what? Can I tell you what? Whether you like it or not, Trump is going to make America great again. And he's going to drag people like you along with him.
So in order to make America great, he must drag other people.
Well, you're not going to do it yourself, so he's going to have to help you. I mean, what can I tell you?
I asked you why this mic feels so far away, and you went, I don't know, you've shrunk.
I did, because you might have. You know, you could have had a really stressful weekend and then you shrunk. You remember that movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yes.
With the ants that were enormous?
Yeah.
I thought of an ant movie over the weekend, and I can't remember exactly what it's called. Someone in the comments will have to help us with this, because it was about these killer ants.
Animated, obviously.
No. Well, it was a really shitty movie. It was terrible. It was C grade, not even B grade. And these ants would swarm and just kill people.
Torn Anto.
No, it was something else. It was something killer ants, or what. It was a really bad, I don't know if it's 80s or 90s movie. It was horrific though. And every time I see a lot of ants, and I think, well, we're just a few degrees short of that.
Listen, those things are crazy. I've got them. They sneak up in my house sometimes, and they carry off enormous amounts of.
Have they ever tried to take your phone?
Not quite, but I've seen them move a fork before.
Who here didn't listen to me and invested in Trump coin, said Bitcoin But. Yeah, so that's also going on, which is just crazy to me. I do think that it's probably a very good time to be in cryptocurrency right now. And I think we're going to see some more growth. Again, I'm not the expert in this. And usually everything I decide to do investment-wise is just a mess. I let other people do it, because if I decide, it's a disaster, just from beginning to end. But today is Donald Trump's inauguration. So Washington, D.C., it's going to be packed with people. They're all going to be there for his inauguration, his swearing in. And
swearing at.
Swearing at. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that too. But I actually think that the people who don't like him are just so moribund at the moment. They're just so downcast and unhappy that they don't even have energy to fight this thing.
No. I'm one of them. And sorry, but not sorry. And it's just I will let it happen.
Yeah, well, you don't have a choice, really. No. What are you going to do? Scream at the air like those blue-haired people did the last time he won?
Yeah, exactly.
But it will be interesting to see this new era begin, because I do think it's going to be quite groundbreaking. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that is brought back, but I think he's wily, this old guy. He's learned some lessons. He's going to do a whole lot of new things that people probably will hate when he implements them. There will be some people who get it, who appreciate what he's trying to do, and obviously there are those of us who think that he's probably a good idea overall, but we'll be proven right or wrong depending on how it all unfolds.
Do you think he has learned? Can he learn? Does he allow himself to learn?
Yeah, and look at that face. Okay, that should tell you everything you need to know. Now,
makes me cross my legs. That's what it does.
I think that it is the absolute height of hubris for people like us to sit here and go, oh, can he learn? Is he smart enough to change where he needs to? This guy he's ticked all the boxes of what makes a thoroughly good story. All the wives.
All the porn.
Well, you can
paying off.
You can jump to that, sure. But he became a billionaire. He was left millions, but he became a billionaire. He's got properties all over America. He's got investments all over the world. He's got a family who seemingly really like him, because they're always around supporting him, which is more than I can say for Joe Biden and his derelict son, Hunter, okay? And the bastard children that Hunter's made with prostitutes. So before we get on to paying off whores, okay? I think powerful men always need more than just a wife. I think that's mostly true throughout history, right? And you can argue with me. We can say, oh, it's wrong, and maybe it's a very bad reflection on men. But if that's all you got to go at him with, that's not very much. He's got this. He became president when nobody thought he could the first time. Then he goes off 4 years in the wilderness, rebuilds, figures everything out. They try to kill him like 2 or 3 times, depending on who you believe. And then he wins and becomes president again. I think that's a hell of a story. If you can't see it in a historical context, then, I mean, this is like during the lifetime of Julius Caesar. There were people going, oh, dictator, oh, he's going to try and change everything. He's a bad influence on things. And they did try to kill him, and they won. They actually got it right. They killed him. So how many people do you know who talk about Brutus and Cassius? And how many people do you know who talk about Julius Caesar?
Yeah.
And when Napoleon was around, and he was the celebrity of the 1800s, the early 1800s, there were loads of people who absolutely despised Napoleon. The British press was full of propaganda about how short he was, how grumpy he was, how evil he was, how louche his private personal life was. And yet the guy pretty much conquered Europe, died in ignominy on a little island just off the coast of Africa. But during his life, people hated him. And now people still talk about Napoleon. They don't talk about the stupid people in the press who hated him. I just think we're living through actual history here.
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree. And yeah, I mean, obviously I'm nitpicking.
No, but it's also fun to do that.
In terms of, I mean, I've always said I don't think it's possible for men in general to be monogamous. Never mind someone in his position.
But is that really a thing that bugs you about him?
Yeah, the paying off and the hiding, the secrecy, the lies, instead of just being honest about it, I suppose.
You mean like every other president who's lied, like when Bill Clinton had Monica Lewinsky?
Bad.
Right.
Cannot like him again, ever.
Really?
I think it's... Bless
Monica,
you.
I told you to stop that.
It's perhaps maybe it's a
That's why we got the
thing
desk, by the way.
in females, and especially females who've been cheated on.
Yeah, well,
you protect yourself by not liking the person.
exactly,
Immediately you're like, no, I don't like him.
What you just said now is exactly why you shouldn't have a vote. You or other women who think like, no, really. Really.
Yeah, well.
It's like you make your decisions based on how hurt you've been by some guy. I mean, that is like the worst. If that was a business decision, you know it would be terrible. But you're prepared to put someone in the position of president because you think they have better personal relations with their wife or whatever. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
No, I'm saying no, not at all. I would distrust a man who was in a monogamous relationship anyway, because I know men are not built for that.
So then you like them if they do, you don't like them if they do, and you don't like them if they don't. So they're just screwed either way. Perhaps. All right. Okay, well, I mean, let's go. So Lee says he's won twice. He must be doing something right. Look, I just think we got to talk about TikTok just now, because that's a whole other issue. Yeah. But it's such an amazing time to witness incredible seismic changes happening in the world. I mean, for God's sake, we joked when we started the show last week about Canada becoming the 51st state, about Greenland being bought from Denmark, about the Gulf of Mexico being renamed the Gulf of America.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you almost wish you were there in, I don't know, the late early 1800s, when Jefferson purchased Alaska and Louisiana from the French,
Yeah, I mean, those
Alaska
were
from the
huge
Russians.
moves.
Yeah, and
I haven't seen that in...
I actually think Alaska was purchased a bit later on, but the Louisiana purchased from the French in the South. I mean, otherwise that part of America, just like Quebec and Canada, would be speaking French, not English. It's just it's a weird thing to be part of what's actually transpiring in real time, and that is going to be written into a history book somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of keen to see how it all goes. Katie Hopkins, Snae says, has been entertaining us with a lot of content from DC with all the Trump haters that were protesting this past weekend. Now, Snae, it's such an interesting thing that you are watching Katie Hopkins, because she was persona non grata. When I discovered her on the internet, probably about 11 years ago, I was like, wow.
Even longer. It was
Yeah,
longer.
because she already by that stage had become somewhat notorious for talking about things like farm killings in South Africa. And there were people in South Africa who, especially in the media, our betters in the media who think they know more than we do and have got everything wrong in the last 5 years. Those people had convinced us that she was probably one of the worst actors in journalism, in inverted commas, that she was a spiteful, mean, racist, sexist, conservative witch who didn't deserve a second glance. And the funny thing is that, again, because she's been right almost 10 times for every one time that all the people who don't like her have been right, it's amazing how you just have to hang in there. You just have to keep fighting. And she did. And they've tried to destroy her, and over the years she's got a great sense of humor about this, but she stuck it out. And now Katie Hopkins is kind of, I wouldn't say mainstream, but her opinions are not that controversial anymore. The things that she's saying are not the kinds of things that people are going, oh, that's very, very dangerous what she just said. She's going to get canceled. Like, she's pretty much uncancelable. And I'll tell you, those are the people who I want to listen to, because they've been through the wars. They've stood up and they've consistently fought for the things that they believe in, that they gather information about, that they're convinced that are going on when everyone else says they're not. And you know what? You learn from those people. You don't learn from the nodding heads that just keep working narratives that have long since been debunked. And I find like Katie Hopkins is tremendously entertaining. She's got such a sense of humor about stuff too. She went in some TV show where she said, and someone raised issues that, like, I think you were heading towards here too, with like, oh, but he said, grab him by the pussy or whatever, Donald Trump, right? And she said, I'm a woman. I have a good relationship with the man I'm with. She said, I don't really care if the president says grab him by the pussy. What I care about is that he isn't a pussy and that he actually stands up for his country. And I mean, the audience went boo or wah, and then one or two of them clapped. And like now, I think most people clap again. It's changing. It's definitely changing. So, all right, let's get to TikTok, because there's also something you know a lot about.
Well, I'm battling to keep up because it's changing by the second.
Okay, so this morning, the latest we have is that Trump actually says he may just give them a reprieve of 90 days so that they can, so that he can figure things out.
Which I think is wise.
Well, he's been inconsistent on this because, as soon as he started getting popular on TikTok and it helped him, then he became a fan. But before that, it was China, very bad. So I'm not sure I completely understand his position on this. I'm thrilled. I was posting funny stuff. I thought it was funny all weekend about how, these people who are on TikTok, these TikTok stars, are going to have to go and get jobs now, the American ones, because they don't have connection to their audience anymore. All those people you used to tell me about, like these makeup people or whatever.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Because their audience is gone.
So they have other platforms.
Yeah.
That
but
they've
like
built
Truth
up
Social?
consistently, like on Instagram. YouTube offers shorts now. YouTube Shorts. Facebook stories are available, although no one's playing in that circle, only in South Africa. Facebook is like a never die thing in South Africa.
It's amazing, right? Like
so
now
strange.
they're going back to Facebook where their grandparents and parents are.
Well, it's actually only South Africans, but no,
South Africans are going back there?
South Africa, Facebook still has such a great following in South Africa and consistently grows. It's crazy. Anyway, no, they'll go to YouTube Shorts, and then Red Note is the other big thing. Red Note is another Chinese platform.
Oh, right.
I'm just looking it up now to see what the latest is, because I don't even know. But yeah, a lot of people have been flocking to Red Note. I do have some images up because it's become obviously really topical, and there's a great cartoon depicting what Red Note has done. So Red Note is this Chinese app where they share memes and all sorts of things. And this cartoon depicts that with Red Note in the middle as their own. They've used cats in this analogy because obviously we think about cats when we think about TikTok and,
of course.
And there it is in the middle with all these strangers coming in.
By the way, I just have to say, looking at that, how shit are cartoons these days? I mean, like, that's
people used to try and
my nephew, who's 8, can do a better cartoon than that. Look at how shit that is. So what's the plan of this? What's the purpose of this cartoon? What are they saying?
So that's Red Note in the middle.
Yeah.
And they're being approached by all these strangers knocking on the door saying, can we join? Can we join? So I think you have to be accepted in order to go onto Red Note. You can't just sign up.
Okay.
So for instance, this one girl has in the other image has sent a picture of her cat. Apparently the Red Noters are now only accepting you if you send a picture of your cat. It's just like
that's hilarious.
A funny.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a cute thing.
There we go. There's the. As a new member from the US, I've heard that we should pay cat tax in order to be considered for acceptance as a member. I'm more than happy to pay. Please say hello to my cat Lily and send me a picture of your cat or dog. That's what it says there.
So what's really fascinating is that for the first time, Americans on a social media app are actually making conversation with the Chinese.
That's good.
These two communities that were completely divided because of TikTok.
But I do think
now coming together.
I do think it's funny. We've always spoken about how if you took away people's following, so many of them would just fall apart because, without the following, and if that's what you've based your entire career on, you really are nothing. Well,
people have become savvy. They don't just base their entire career on one platform anymore.
It's still fun. It's still fun to watch. Like it's kind of, there was a funny thing that was posted about how Gen Z was angry for like 4.3 seconds.
Yeah.
And then moved on because 4.3 seconds is how their brains have been trained by TikTok to pay maximum attention, right? So like, that's it, 4.3 seconds. And then suddenly, okay, well, we move on.
Yeah.
But on cats, while we're on that, because I know you're an expert. One of my friends told me he's got a 24-year-old cat.
Wow, that's very good going.
That's old, right? How cats don't normally last that long.
They can, but it also depends. Is he an indoor-only cat?
I don't know any of the details.
Indoor-only cats last forever.
Really?
Well, they don't have any risks. They don't get into fights. They don't get run over by cars. They don't get stuck in trees or fall out of walls.
They're real pussies, basically.
Yeah. Oh. So they last longer. But in general, a cat will start showing its age at 16, which is pretty long going. And then it's kind of a sharp decline.
What's the oldest one you've had?
Well, let's not jinx it because she's alive now.
Okay.
But she's heading towards 17.
Wow.
But 24,
okay.
I've never
24
seen a
for a cat's very, very old. And then before we move on from the social media thing, I thought about this too over the weekend. I don't know, I must have been in a philosophical mood because I suddenly realized like Gen X, which is like our generation, we are the last non-fully internet generation.
Analog, yeah. We're the last ones to have used analog.
Right, or even just to not have had phones on us the whole time. Because I remember school, I didn't have a phone at school. And then at varsity, I think halfway through varsity, they started bringing out cell phones in South Africa. And what was amazing about that is that we knew what life was like before the internet. I'm not saying it's an advantage or a disadvantage, by the way. It could be neither. It might just be an interesting fact. But, you often hear your parents getting nostalgic about stuff. And in my day, this used to happen and that used to happen. And you think, ugh. And I'm sure that's what people who hear us talking about a pre-internet age will think. But it is like these imperceptible changes that start happening. And then suddenly you're in a different universe. I mean, the idea that anyone who's alive right now and who's been fully immersed in the digital world from birth, pretty much, if you had to put them back in 1995, they'd be like terrified.
Absolutely lost.
Blown out, right? So
absolutely. and so bored.
How would you look?
Although they might not be bored because they'll be so busy trying to figure things out.
How would you look up information because they don't know the skills of like actually trying to find information in an analog world.
There are people who can't
pouring through books.
read a clock.
No, of course you can't read a clock because that's just an unnecessary thing to do these days. Memorizing phone numbers. You have to remember a phone number, an address. You don't have to remember that either. You don't have to. If you're looking for a place, pick up a map book.
Reading a paper map. Yeah.
And try to find your way around. There are all these things that we just kind of had to learn in that pre-internet era, which you don't need anymore. And again, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but certain muscles, certain parts of your brain that were used to doing all of that stuff are just redundant now.
Well, I mean, think about our
no
careers.
points in them,
I remember
right?
editing reel to reel.
Yeah.
And that was literally a reel to a reel of tape, listening to it, playing, finding the exact point where you needed it to be edited, and physically taking a pair of scissors, cutting it out and taping it back together. But I think the advantage is that we appreciate technology so much. Whereas if you were born into it,
no, you kind of take it for granted.
Just take it for granted.
Well, do you remember, and Janet puts this in the comments, she says, the kids of today will never know the joy of standing in a queue to use a payphone at school to phone their parents.
If you were allowed.
Yeah, and of course you had to pay as well.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, they weren't going to let you use... The only time they'd let you use the office phone is if you were really, really sick and someone had to come and fetch you.
No, basically you'd lost a limb and you were losing blood quickly.
Or if you were going to be expelled.
Yeah.
Then the parents would be called. But that was it. And then you'd have to call your parents at work. This is another thing I thought about the other day. You'd either have to call them at work or at home. If they weren't at home or
tough cookie.
they were out on a call at work or something, then tough.
If they were doing the shopping.
Yeah, you just there's no way to get hold of them. I went yesterday to the shops and I thought about how I now use my phone to pay for everything. Because I don't even carry a credit card around.
It's so freeing.
Right?
Yeah.
And but we're totally into this. This is the only thing that you can use for everything now. And there's so many functions and features that we're like, what's the next one? What's the next one? And we don't take stock of how far we've come. It's bloody it's really impressive.
I mean, we have a new employee. She's just matriculated last year.
Yeah.
And she joined us more or less on the day she was getting her results, which of course were on the internet. And you remember how we got ours? Newspapers. We'd sit until midnight to wait until 1 minute past midnight.
I remember that the school got the results around about the same time, and then they would post them on the notice board.
I know we were on matric.
I know Leigh-Ann and I sound like dinosaurs, but the people in the audience who are our age and maybe even older.
It's not that long ago.
It's not that long ago. And I mean, Flex and James are pretty much falling asleep. They can't believe that this. Why don't you tell us about the dark ages again? We went to the school and then they'd posted our results on the thing, and
you'd have to push past people to try and see yours.
And you were like, and you couldn't really remember, what did I get for history again?
But also, then you could see everyone's results. Now it's completely private.
Yeah, which I think is a problem.
Yeah, like this matriculant said, there obviously are a lot of suicides at this time because when people have done badly and other people can see, they feel embarrassed, etc. And I said to her, well, actually in our day, it wasn't cool to get good marks.
Oh.
When you did really well, it was like you didn't want to tell anyone.
Yeah. And also, I mean, if you're going to, let me just say this to anyone. I know this is going to be one of those things I probably regret saying, but if you're going to kill yourself, let it be about something more important than matric results, When
you're in matric, it's your everything. Your world is so small.
Please, then you're a fucking idiot. Then it's better that we don't have you around. I'm that insensitive this morning. I mean, if that's going to be, let me just tell you that your life is going to be full of ups and downs, all right? I've also got lots of ups and downs. Sure. And I've had a few, there are more coming. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff. And honestly, if you let something as stupid as matric ruin your day, to the point where you're actually thinking, well, it's too much for me. Goodbye, sweet dear life. Because of matric. I mean, we'll talk to Dr. Hanan about this later. He's back.
Or just take it.
No, he's back today. So
take it in the sense that if you hadn't have killed yourself one day when you're older, you will look back and think, how stupid was it? was I to even think about that?
Yeah, at the same time, and we can't keep everybody around. Dud says, no more TikTok. We'll dance in underpants for food. There we go. TikTok influencers find new ways of earning money after the app is banned. Yes, but OnlyFans has already been a thing, and most of the TikTokers who have both are still on OnlyFans, right? So here, listen to this. This is from Duds. I'm Gen X at 52 years old now. I'm going back to my roots. No social media and minimum screen time. Life is much better. I'm telling you that there's a value to not being on there the whole time. I mean, I've just extolled the virtues of the phone, and I will stand by those virtues. Has made life easier for many of us. It's connected us in ways that we would never have been connected before. But there's something beautiful about switching it off and moving away. Just for a while. I mean, you can't, in this modern existence, you cannot get away from this stuff forever. You're going to have to. You can't be some Luddite who never uses a phone and stays off the internet completely. But you can minimize it. And your happiness goes through the roof. I reckon that the reason people are like suicidal about matric is because, again, everybody knows everybody's business. And you're always on there. And that's more important than like what's going on in your real life. It's stupid.
Just before we move on from that, it was something that my grandfather noted. So my grandfather was born in 1915.
Wow.
And he died at the age of 103. So if you think about in his lifetime, what he saw from beginning to end.
So he would have been around just after flight was discovered.
Exactly.
So after the Wright brothers, around the time the Titanic sunk, he was a child.
Yes. So he noted, and he was an engineer, so very much into, he was a mining engineer, but wanted from a little boy to be a train engineer. So very into locomotives and transport and airplanes. We would go with him to the airport to watch planes taking off.
Oh, wow.
Okay. But he noted in his older years, he said the advent of flight, and then from the development of big airplanes like the Boeing, things completely slowed down. And still to this day, it's one of the things we've seen change so little are our big transportation Boeings and Airbuses by comparison to cars and AI and things like that. It's so slow changing, which means that they really did get it right. From the beginning.
I actually think there was probably more of the development in that sort of arena during the first half of the 20th century than in the second half. The second half, it kind of slowed down. Like post-World War II, everything kind of ground to a halt. And
still has.
Yeah, we're sort of stuck in, discussing whether or not this thing at the United Nations is important or not. I met a girl on Saturday who's a translator for the UN. She translates Polish, Ukrainian, and Russian. So, like Ukrainian and Russian, she's been pretty busy for the last 4 or so years, And it was interesting also to hear from her about some of the conversations that she has been a part of translating, because that's ongoing, and we can only hope that something gets done about that in the next year too. There's lots this year to look forward to, and there's probably some stuff that we're not going to enjoy. So I see here that this is quite interesting. What happened to phone card indexes? People wrote down phone numbers on little cards and used a dial in the holder to select the alphabet of the name you wanted to get a phone number.
That's right.
Yeah, and you'd move the thing along.
You'd move like a plastic lever.
Yeah, and then it would take you to A, and then you'd have all the surnames or names under A. I mean, it's so backward now if you think about it.
The clip would grab the pages so that it opened up onto the right page.
Correct. But I mean, I don't remember... Now, if you ask me to come up with phone numbers, I could probably remember one or two of the phone numbers when we were kids.
Do you remember your home phone number?
I could probably... You do? Yeah, I don't know. There's some stuff you just don't need to recall at the drop of a hat. I mean, I was trying to explain to my dad the other day how to listen to a podcast. You'd think after, like, I've been doing it for 11 years, he'd know. But he's like, okay, I know how to do yours, but I don't know any others. And also, I think there comes a point in everybody's life at a certain age where you decide, okay, I don't want to learn. Yeah, I don't want to learn anymore. Like 100%. I'm done with learning.
Yeah, it's like, okay, look, technology's won the war. I'm just going to stop right here.
I love what Sianda says here, to go back to matrics for a second. We've had presidents without a matric, so failing isn't the end of the world.
Yeah.
That's so right. So right. And Congo Chris says, just stop oil defaced Darwin's grave. That's in Westminster Abbey on Thursday. Let's not talk about apps. Let's ban that criminal organization. Oh, for sure. There was a girl who's been put in jail. She was a Just Stop Oil protester in Britain, and she's been sentenced to, I think, 3 or 4 years in jail, which is good. I think it should be execution, public execution on Trafalgar Square at noon on a Friday. But that's just me.
Yeah, that is. Just
call me old-fashioned, but I think if you want to stop bad behavior, that's how you do it. I really think, like, there are things. There we go. Look at that. That is appalling. First of all, for anybody to get into a place like Westminster Abbey with spray paint, I don't know how.
Word.
I'm not even sure what she's trying to say there. 1.5 is dead.
Yeah.
I don't know what the message is.
Mess.
It doesn't matter what the message is. It's just, that is so goddamn disrespectful in so many ways. And also, why Darwin? Like, what are you going at him for? Like, what's your problem with Darwin? It says Charles Robert Darwin, born 12 February.
Unless you're like a raging Christian. I don't understand.
1809, sorry. 1882 is when he died. And what is 1.5 is dead? Look at those people. They're old people, by the way. Those are not Gen Z TikTokers, okay? Those are fucking people older than you and me.
Jeez.
What's up with them, with their saggy tits and
their hairy armpits?
Yeah, like, what's going on with you? Like, what happened? Show me on the dole where the bad man touched you, ladies. Like, why would you go and do this? Your generation should be
midlife crisis of sorts.
I mean, like, really? How embarrassing to be that old and to be arrested for spray painting on a grave.
Yeah.
It's a thing a teenager should do. Well,
Yeah.
even they shouldn't do it. Again, public executions. Sorry, you old biddies. Straight off to Trafalgar Square, guillotine them right there. Bring back the guillotine. I never thought I'd say that, but there we are. Unbelievable. And what is this question from Tracy? She says, that's where we are with mobile phones. What's the next big thing? I think it has perhaps reached its ceiling. Next could be implants, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we've talked about that. Neuralink. I teach social media, says Just Plain Jared. An interesting fact is that between 2022 and 23, South Africa dropped from 28 million users to 25.8 million users. So how did we lose when everywhere else in the world it's growing?
Yeah.
How did we drop backwards?
First time I've seen that stat. And I deal with...
I'd be interested to know more about that, Jared.
Yeah.
A lot of people joined social media during COVID, and post-COVID, a lot of people left the platforms again. Maybe that's what it is. In terms of social media usage, that's 28 million users in 22 to 26 million users in 2024. So could people be going off of these things? You mentioned earlier how in South Africa, Facebook's still a thing.
Yes.
I think it's probably our biggest social media platform in South Africa
still,
which is remarkable.
Nowhere else in the world.
Yeah, and I don't know what the second biggest is, but maybe it's Instagram or Twitter.
I think it's YouTube.
YouTube. Okay, very good. All right, South Africa, doing your own thing. You don't care what the other people are up to. Well done, everybody. We don't give a shit here. We're still like, no, keep Facebook going. Everyone else in the world is like,
you know what it is?
Facebook.
It used to be such an aspirational thing to own a device that would be able to log into Facebook. Because if you didn't have a smartphone, there was no way of getting onto Facebook.
But isn't it true? I mean, you do this every day. The average age of a person on Facebook is much older than the average age of people on every other social media platform. Again,
Not so much in South Africa. It's so weird.
So those two women who defaced Charles Darwin's grave, I mean, they're like, that's Facebook is their demographic.
No, theirs is actually TikTok in the 40 plus and 50 plus on TikTok is
big.
Massive.
Really?
Yeah. Especially
I never downloaded that app.
Yeah.
I just, people would send me clips that had been taken off of TikTok. And then I'd often get a link and it'd take me in and try to register me. And I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Because maybe I'm also at the stage, like my dad doesn't want to learn how to do more podcasts than just my one. Maybe I'm also at the stage where I'm like, nah, that one I can do without. I think I made that decision, even if it was subconsciously.
I rely on it for news.
It's like I've never gone on Reddit.
Yeah.
And apparently there's really useful stuff there.
Oh, hugely.
I'm
Yeah.
sure. So
It's one of
I
the
can't do them
biggest
all.
growing in the US.
How many are you
platforms.
on? All of them?
On Reddit?
No, are you on all of these apps, on all of these social media platforms?
Not personally, but for my clients, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Personally, I mean, I'm shocking on social media. I don't know when last I posted anything
Yeah,
on
someone
any
said
of the
to me,
platforms.
you haven't posted any selfies since the early 2000s, Leigh-Ann.
Yeah. I don't, I've never been one to provide content for other people on my platforms. I'm on them because I need to be, but TikTok is the first platform that I've consumed in the manner that I do. And I rely on it for news, for knowing first
Sure.
what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I think X is really helpful and always will be. It's by far the best source of news and always has been. Even when, pre-Elon, it was still the place where ordinary citizen journalists could report stuff. And you could start to figure things out a lot better than if you followed traditional media. Anyway, speaking of X, Trump declares only 2 genders as the official policy. That kicks in today because he becomes president this evening.
That's interesting. I wonder about
South African
the
time
people
this
who are
evening.
born with both genders.
Well, they're called hermaphrodites and will continue to be called so.
But that's the third.
Yes. But there are only about 10 of them in the world. So don't worry. Tiny, tiny proportion. That's like making a rule.
10 in the world.
That's like making a rule for cats.
There are about 100 in South Africa right now.
Well, 100. Okay. So call it a couple of thousand in the world. But that's like saying, well, we need special laws for 3-legged cats. You don't.
Well, we should. They should only be able to buy 3 shoes.
All right. You get my point. You're focused on the wrong thing. You're immersed in this stuff too much, if you ask me. So the big story here is that if you, before or up to now, under the Biden administration, you were allowed to self-identify on your passport or social security card or whatever it might have been. So you could have chosen one of, 43 genders to put on there. And he's just going to say that's bullshit from here on in. So what'll happen is that really activist people who are big time into their identity, will keep their old card like a souvenir, or they'll probably carry on using that card as long as possible. Or their passport that says they, them. They'll be like, I still want to use this one. And someone somewhere will say to them eventually, I'm sorry, that's expired. And then they'll have a tantrum in the airport. And now they don't have anywhere to post it because TikTok's gone. So who knows? They might have to just deal with that themselves and like have a little tantrum on their own, and none of us will have to care. Oh, that'll be nice.
And no one will see it.
No one will give a shit. So that's going on. Then Argentina. I can't tell you how much I love Javier Milei, the president of Argentina. This guy is just so great. So a while ago, I posted a thing saying, just watch Argentina. It's going to be a story that will make the whole world take notice. And it is. It's now becoming precise. I'm not saying I'm prescient or I'm Nostradamus or any of that stuff, but I will say this. At the time, there's a journalist who we used to have sometimes on the show called Richard Poplack, who said, oh, this is going to be a horror show. Just wait and see, and screenshotted my post. All right. And someone reposted that over the weekend.
All right.
And I'd just like to read this to you. Under Milei's leadership, Argentina turned a $7.94 billion trade deficit in the 2023 year into a record-smashing 18 to 19 billion surplus in 2024, surpassing the previous high of 16.89 billion in 2009. His push to boost energy exports from the Vaca Muerta shale reserves and ramp up grain sales is paying off, making Argentina a global exporting powerhouse again. With inflation already down from nearly 300% to 117.8%, and it keeps on dropping, so it'll get better, Milei's economic reforms are proving their worth. So,
Sure.
Horror show?
Was there perhaps something that had to suffer in order for those things to happen?
No. This is just good free market
amazing.
capitalism. He is just taking down big government. He's actually put an IQ test in place for government employees.
Oh, my goodness. Wouldn't that be welcome?
What, in this country?
Yeah.
We'd have no government. if you had an IQ test and you just took, this is also something that came up last week while we were talking about this, because, with the Bella Act and everything else, people are talking about education in South Africa. The matric results have just come out. People are going to be going to university this year and enrolling for courses. So we got to figure out who's clever and who's not. Because the reason people go to university is so that they can have a piece of paper that says, I'm clever, hire me.
Yeah. And not everyone can go to university, which is why you have matric exemptions.
By the way, I'm not a big fan of university on that basis, and I haven't been for a long time. There are some subjects, there's some disciplines that you need to learn at a university where you're supervised by professors and you're taught practical stuff, engineering, medicine, some of the sciences. I'd even say there are a few humanities subjects and business subjects which qualify, although they have scant in distribution. But it's all about trying to figure out who's clever or not. So IQ, which a lot of people really don't like talking about, is still reliably the best way to figure out not that someone's clever, but that someone has a brain that can pick up patterns. Like, if I pour hot water into this cup and I add coffee to it, I can then drink that coffee and it will taste a certain way every time if I pour it the same way with the same coffee. Patterns. If A plus B equals C, then C minus A equals B. These are patterns that a brain that is able to recognize patterns faster than another brain gets a higher IQ score on. That's what it is. And you want people who identify patterns, because otherwise the whole of life is a surprise the whole fucking time. They wake up in the morning and like, oh, sun's up again. Whoa, what happened here? Because they don't recognize the pattern of, 24-hour cycles and all the rest of it. So it's kind of important to have IQ as a measure of pattern seeking. That's why you'll see IQ tests. I don't know when last you did one. I haven't done one for ages, but they show you a pattern. They give you numbers in a sequence. They show you blocks that face in a certain direction. You have to have the brain that can, without having to draw things or pick up your phone, can work out that if you revolve this thing 180 degrees, it looks like that, as opposed to like this, right? These are things that matter.
Yeah.
But it's a massively controversial thing because our country has an IQ, an average IQ, which is really bad. It's like either in the upper 60s, depending on who you reference here, and you can look this up. Don't take my word for it. No. Reference the upper 60s to lower 70s.
And the issue is...
And that's bad. By the way, the U.S. military will not hire you.
Yes, no, definitely not. Not to use weapons and make life decisions.
You do more harm than good because
Yeah.
you can't follow simple instructions.
Absolutely. You'll be the one with the bazooka the wrong way around.
We don't want that.
No, exactly.
All right,
that made me think about... I'm still so pissed off because I know of at least 2 people who bought their driver's licenses.
Yeah.
And I know that these 2 people would in no way pass a learner's test, because I know very intelligent people who are battling to pass their learner's test.
Yes.
But there are people who do not know how to drive who are driving, and it pisses me off. Well,
we've got to come to terms with this at some point, because the storm that broke out on X, and which I'm fine with. It doesn't bother me anymore when people disagree with me. We've got to reckon with the fact that we've got this very low average IQ in South Africa, which means the average South African, 1 in 2 South Africans, is not going to recognize patterns. Okay, they're not going to be able to like sit the right way around on a toilet. Okay, this is something we've got to reckon with as a country if we want to get better. And this is not going to be made better by Siviwe Warube, who's now the Minister of Basic Education. And it's not the universities that are going to make it better, and it's not even the schools that are going to make it better. This is a hardware problem, not a software problem.
This is a Charles Darwin problem.
you don't say. Okay, so we've gone full circle. Let's get Dr. Hanan on. I've missed this guy. Is he there? Fantastic. Dr. Hanan, I've missed you. We needed to check in with you. Obviously, my mental health has gone for a ball of shit since we last spoke to you. How are you, and Happy New Year? What's news?
Happy New Year. Yeah, things have been pretty good. Had a good break. But as you know, you get back on the hamster wheel very quickly. And It's press reset and off we go. There's no time for, acclimatizing to the new year. It's expecting a lot from us, and we just move on with life. How have you been, guys? How's your mental health? How does that make you feel?
Well, this is interesting. Leigh-Ann actually has data from a 10,000 children study that's just been released about what makes children anxious in 2024, 2025. And we were talking about matric just now, and I was saying, well, if you're going to contemplate suicide because of matric, you don't realize like matric's one of the less important things in the big scheme of things. And obviously, people will encounter many, many challenges in their lives. For all I know, they've already encountered many of these challenges in individual life stories. But I hear this word anxious bandied about so much, and it makes me anxious because I'm like, you can't be anxious about all of this stuff. If it's hot, you're anxious. If it's cold, you're anxious. If there's rain, you're anxious. If there's no rain, you're anxious. This is not a way to live, Doc. I mean, are we becoming weaker and less able to deal with any adversity whatsoever? Or am I just imagining that this anxiety is being used as an excuse for everything?
No, so the self-diagnosis of anxiety and depression and anger and insecurity and frustration and guilt, it's going up. It's not getting better for people. And for some reason, people give themselves permission to self-diagnose all the time. And I tell people, just because you've had a toothache doesn't make you a dentist. And just because you've had a headache doesn't make you a doctor. And just because you've had car problems doesn't make you a mechanic. But for some reason, because somebody has felt sad or anxious, they think they're qualified to be a psychologist and diagnose other people and diagnose themselves.
Yeah.
And there's a massive danger in diagnosing and over-diagnosing yourself, because I always say, if you keep on looking internal, you will always come up with stuff to worry about. There's always stuff to worry about. And the reality is that you can't see your life as short stints of wins and losses. Life is long. You got to see life as an experiment that just gives you data to make your next move better. Because the moment you see your life as a bunch of wins, and I'm happy when I win, or losses, and I'm sad when I lose, then you're a slave to circumstance.
Right.
Because sometimes you'll win and sometimes you'll lose. So to your point, matric is just one of those things. Wait until you're in a committed relationship. Wait until you're in a job. Wait until you're a parent. Wait till you lose a loved one. I mean, life is still coming. And you can't see it as these bunch of, successes and losses, but you got to see it as data and ask yourself, how do I use this information to make my next move better? In that way, you cannot lose, because this data is always going to be coming, and you can always use it to make your life better.
Well, I mean, this research that you found, Leigh-Ann, I think this is quite interesting stuff, because we could start off this year talking about all kinds of things with you, and I was more hopeful that we would start off with how do you get your priorities right at the beginning of the year? How do you practically, and what you are and what we love about having you on the show, Doc, is that you give people practical ways of making their life more meaningful, how to derive more purpose, how to get your head right, obviously. And that's why we love having you on. But I wanted to start with all of that stuff. And then I saw the story about the anxiety. And I thought, we got to nail this one immediately. Let's sort this out right now.
So it's interesting because if you think about what worried you when you were aged between 8 and 12, so in primary school, what were the things that would have caused anxiety for you at that age?
Not being cool. However that went down. Also,
so in other words, school stuff.
Yeah, and not knowing anything and wearing shit clothes. I mean, I don't know what else. I'm trying to think, but I don't know that anything really bothered me. I was I wanted to laugh and have fun with my friends, which is pretty much what I did. And school wasn't very serious. I don't know about you, Leigh-Ann, but I was a bit of a nerd, but I never took it seriously.
Yeah, no, I would not have cried over my results.
Oh, hell no.
No.
What bothered you?
And
at
I didn't
that age?
understand when other people did. Things like monsters in the dark.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know.
Yeah. But that's still a problem for you now.
It's still, it is actually. But what was interesting is that this survey, also surveying primary school children at that age, these were their top 5 things that they're anxious about. And I rolled my eyes thinking, oh, it's going to be if my phone runs out of battery.
Yeah.
They're the exact same things that we worried about.
Go on.
Number 1, worries about going to school.
Uh-huh.
Fear of making mistakes.
Uh-huh.
Fear of the dark. Fear of sleeping alone, and fear of making new friends.
Okay, that's
Nothing to do with technology. I was very surprised.
That's a bit of consistency then. Should we celebrate that, Doc?
Yeah, you know what? It's the question is flawed because again, the answers that you get from life is heavily dependent on the questions that you ask. So if I wake up in the morning and I go, why does my life suck? My brain will naturally focus on giving me answers, and this is what I should be having there. I'm unlucky and I should be having this relationship, or I should be making more money. My brain will find answers for those questions. But if I ask myself, why am I so lucky and why I should be grateful, well, my brain will search for that. It's a law of focused intent. You look for what you ask for. You look for what you're intentional about. So if you ask a child, and for that matter, an adult, what are you anxious about? Your brain will naturally look for things that worry you. And in life, value is married to stress. We naturally stress over things that we value, but that's a human condition. So to your point, Leigh-Ann, things that we worried about at 8 years old, 20 years ago, are still going to be the things that we worry about at 8 years old, 20 years later, or 8-year-old, 20 years later. Do you remember the song, guys, Sunscreen? Where's Sunscreen?
Yes.
Where's Sunscreen? Baz Luhrmann.
Yes.
The Class of 99. Wear a sunscreen. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it now. So this song is obviously 25 years old. Go listen to the words and see how they are related to today 100%. They completely are aligned with things that we worry about today. It says politicians are corrupt, people don't respect their elders, you're not as fat as you think, don't read beauty magazines, they only make you feel ugly. So now it's social media. But the things that we worry about then are still relevant today.
Yeah.
People worry about their careers. People worry about their sense of purpose. People worry about getting old. People worry about illness. People worry about financial instability, their friends, their loved ones. It's the same thing that's been there since the beginning of time, and it's always going to be there. But again, it doesn't mean that you have a problem. It's a human condition. It means you value it. There's nothing wrong with it. We can't label that as anxiety and there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
You got to label it as this is the human condition, and what do I do now to make my life better?
Yeah. 100%.
I think that this is a good way to start the year, actually. I'm kind of pleased that we went through these things that make you anxious. I also think there's so much stuff that you allow into your reality, and you always talk about like focusing on the right things. You know, if you want to see a red car, if you think about red cars, you're only going to see red cars. And you've used that example before. I think this year it's really important for all of us to pay attention to the things we care about rather than the things that everybody tells us we should care about. The news, like this obsession that some people have with the news, or worrying about what's going on in Britain or Tajikistan. And like these things are never going to affect you. They're not in any meaningful, purposeful way. And I'm interested, for example, in American politics, but I'm certainly not upset about it when things happen that I don't agree with. And I think that we can choose to take in information that makes us happier and information that makes us feel more knowledgeable and interesting, and we can make better conversation with other people. And we want to meet people who make us happy too. So just treat everybody like a filter, or rather put everyone through your filter, put all the news through your filter and decide, is this good for me, bad for me? And this year, let's just try to exclude as much of the bad as possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. Gareth, you know, I'm telling my patients these days to act like a really well orchestrated firewall in their own lives. In other words, filter only the things that make you better, that align with your values. But that requires you to know what you want out of life. The moment you know what you want and you know what you want to create for yourself, and I urge everybody, and I know it's a tedious exercise and people want better, but they don't want to do better in their lives. They don't want to put in the effort. But I'm telling you, this will really serve you well. If you just sit down and write down, what do I want in the following 8 areas of my life in terms of career, financial security, family, friends, romantic, diet, exercise, and sleep.
Right.
And if those are the 8 anchors in life, and ask yourself a simple question: what do I want to create in those areas? And then the second step is ask yourself, investing in this conversation, investing in this program on TV, investing in this social media post, investing in this person, investing in this environment, does it serve my goals in those 8 areas? And if the answer is yes, it brings me closer to those goals, then invest in it. It's worth your time. It will serve and add value to you. And if the answer is no, then that's what we call self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is acting in opposite to what you want to create for yourself. So invest in things that make you better aligned with your goal, and disinvest from things that move you away from it.
Couldn't agree more. And laugh, because most of it is just so funny. Everything about life is ridiculous. And I always think I want to be the person who can laugh at a funeral, not at the funeral of someone I really care about, that I'm being, irreverent, but you got to be able to laugh at everything, including death and anxiety and matric results and the economy and the government. And these things are so hilarious if you just step away from them.
Mm.
I mean, you had a shitty end of year last year, but
we laughed at that funeral.
And you were sending me very funny memes the whole way through December, so I don't think it's all bad.
We still laugh. We still cry.
Yeah.
Cried and laughed yesterday after selling my dad's car and watching it being reversed down the driveway by someone who didn't have a fucking license. And that car my brother bought for my dad when he was 11 years old. He found it.
Oh, wow.
And my dad looked after that car like you will not believe. And there it went, revving, over-revving.
Oh, God.
Stalling. We had to, my brother had to go and find them down the road. They didn't know how to. But we laugh.
All right. Well, we've got a whole hour of hilarity to ensue, so don't go anywhere. We've got lots to talk about. Among other things, Leigh-Ann has been busy. She's found out all about the LA fires, because there's an update on that, which is still ongoing. And I mean, even the people in that, I listened to Bill Maher's podcast on Saturday, and he was laughing. He's making jokes about it. You have to. I mean, people have lost everything, but you've got to laugh, because otherwise you're just going to cry. And that laughter's better. Can you think
Absolutely.
of it? What's that?
I'm saying absolutely. It helps you transcend for sure.
Shit, I forgot that you were even there, Doc. It's like the voice of God. All right, Doc, we'll catch up with you next week. And maybe, the audience have been clamoring for you. And they want you to come in here and sit with us for a whole hour one morning. So see if you can clear a place in the diary. It would be good.
All right, I'm on it. All right, guys.
Have a great year.
See you too, guys.
All right, there we go. And then Leigh-Ann will also tell us if you can think of a dog breed that could defeat a wolf.
Mm.
I sometimes look at my dog. No,
Sorry,
I know
Dan, that's funny.
No, and I look at her and I'm like, there's no way that is like.
No, she wouldn't. No,
that dog is not descended from
wolf
wolves.
would swallow her whole if it yawned.
Absolutely. This is ridiculous. You couldn't live in the wild.
Little Alice.
Little Alice couldn't make it through the wild in. After 4 hours, she'd be crying.
I mean,
she thinks she's very brave, though. I mean, she barks at other dogs and.
Shame. No, not her forte, fighting wolves.
Well, we'll find out which dog breeds can. All of that and more coming up. Don't go anywhere.
I don't have any issues with people sleeping around. If you're wanting a strong relationship, it can't be started on the basis of we meet today, tomorrow we're sleeping together.
It used to be you'd go out somewhere social, you'd meet someone, you'd exchange numbers, and then you'd almost go on a series of dates before you even thought about sleeping together or taking things to the next step. This was in the age of models. That age is dead. Because now it's very fast. I can go on Tinder and I can find 2 things real quick because I'm cute. I can go out to the club and I can package 1 table there because they're drinking Savannah's. You check what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're within my budget, you know? PH can go, he can operate because it's a champagne table. Yeah, bo? It depends on the man.
Indy 500, where you at with that?
I've just, I've never understood it, but shout out to the milk.
Indy 500, 25th of May. Now, I'm bringing this up because this is actually, they say this is the single biggest sporting event, motorsport event of the year. Check out the size of that trophy, okay? That's the Borg Warner Trophy, I think it's called. Borg Warner Trophy. What do you think that trophy's value is?
Just break it down for me. I have no idea.
That trophy is valued at $3 million, okay? It stands...
It looks like that.
It looks like... So, if you win, your face goes on the trophy. Actually, they put your face on it.
Yeah,
This thing is so cool. The Borg Warner Trophy is so ginormous. This has been going since 1911, the Indy 500.
All right. Oh, there we go. Killer Ants. Is that the movie? I think that's the movie. I think that's the one that I was talking about earlier. Have you guys been researching this the whole time while we've been doing the show? Wow, it took them a full hour to find it. But it was called like Marabotu or something. No. There's seriously like
Marabotu.
No, I'm telling you, I'm making this up. You don't make me think I'm crazy, Leigh-Ann. Don't gaslight me. Marabuntu. Let me just look this
Is
up.
it South African?
Killer Ants. I'm telling you, no, it wasn't South African. Marabunta. There you go.
There you go.
Okay, put that picture up. Marabunta. Killer Ants. Oh my God. What a crap movie. There we go. Look.
How the
Marabunta.
hell do you remember
Leigh-Ann,
that?
I don't. That's where you had
Doesn't
to look
even
it up.
cross my memory. I've never seen that in my
It was
life.
such a bad movie. Marabunta. Yes, it was great.
I recognize
It was
the actors.
it was made in 1998 for TV. It was a made-for-TV horror. So they had like a budget of 500 rand.
How do you remember that? I don't know. What crap.
It's so great. The Legion of Killer Ants, Marabunta.
I mean, Sharknado I would remember forever, but not that.
I never watched Sharknado. I couldn't bring
no,
myself.
I didn't watch it. Just remember
All
people's
right.
obsession.
Well, I know everybody's actually only coming for the which dog breed could kill a wolf or take on a wolf segment. That is the whole reason that you're here. You don't have to lie to me. So let's get into it. I know my dog would be useless at any fight with any other dog. In fact, spaniels like little Alice probably would, if someone
She
tried
would
to
audibly yelp and run in the opposite
no,
direction.
if someone came to murder me, she'd go up with her tail wag. She wouldn't know. There's no in Alice's world, nothing bad ever happens. Nothing. It's
So
amazing.
sweet.
All right, so let's go. What do we got?
Okay.
Guys, have we got
James.
pictures of these things?
Yeah, there we go.
Are those all the dogs that could
Those
take
are
on a wolf?
These are the 15
Yes.
dog breeds that
Some
could defeat a
Some
wolf.
beautiful dogs there. Is that a Ridgeback somewhere in the middle there?
No Ridgeback.
Oh,
But interestingly enough, there is a South African breed in there.
Burbul.
There you go.
Daze.
That's
There he
a
is.
Lakasua.
There, now that
Kijk.
is a great dog. What a great dog.
Kijk daai wange.
I love that dog. All right, cool. So Burbul's obviously among them.
Yes.
Go on.
That one, I think I'd run in the opposite direction and yelp.
That's an incredible dog. What is it?
I shall tell you.
Beautiful.
It's a Tibetan Mastiff.
I love it.
Absolutely stunning. One of the most ancient and revered guardian breeds.
I know what those are.
Yes, you
Those
do.
are,
Rob Vamber used to have them, in
what are they
fact.
called? What are they called, man? I don't know.
Remember, they're taller. The
It's not a Great Dane. It's
perception is that, yes, Great Danes are the biggest dogs, but these are actually them. And you'll remember now Irish wolfhounds.
Oh, Irish Wolfhound, right.
But now
Good
I
old
wouldn't-
hunting dog from the Middle Ages.
Good hunting dog, but more like I wouldn't expect them to take down a wolf. They don't seem meaty enough. They're very tall and long.
Oh no, but they're very strong and they're
Yeah.
fast as hell too. Great dogs. All right, lovely.
Amazing.
I like all of these. What else?
And then this is one that I wouldn't have expected.
Oh,
How cute is that face?
oh, what is that?
That's the Great Pyrenees.
Oh, what a nice dog.
Good
Good boy.
mountain dog. Majestic and gentle giant with a history of guarding livestock in the Pyrenees Mountains. So
Amazing.
very calm, affectionate, protective, but with the strength and courage to fend off wolves. Their thick double coat provides protection from bites in cold weather, giving them an edge in confrontations.
What a lovely dog.
So a wolf can bite into that, but those teeth ain't going to sink in.
Okay, great. What else? Go on.
No, that's, well, I mean, that
I can
That's
see some others there. You're not going to tell us about them. They get like second billing. All right.
let's take a look at that one, the second one. Second one?
Second one, the one in the snow.
Yes.
All right. There's a couple of them in the snow there.
That is the Caucasian Shepherd.
Oh wow! As opposed to the black shepherd.
Yes. The Caucasian Shepherd is also known as the
You Caucasians.
is also known as the Caucasian of Charka,
Okay.
from the Caucasus Mountains. Caucasus Mountains.
Yeah, Caucasus Mountains.
Caucasus
Yeah.
Mountains, weighing up to 200 pounds. Another
Yo.
livestock and property protector. Aggressive when necessary, incredibly loyal,
Oh.
and again, thick fur but very muscular.
Right, just like Caucasians.
Thick fur and very muscular.
I don't know. I mean, you haven't had dogs for a while, huh?
No, I haven't.
Because you got cats
But but my family's. I have a niece.
no,
a
you love
dog niece
dogs. Yeah, I know.
Who's a
But
spaniel.
I don't know how many people think about, unless you live on, a property where you got lots of space.
Mm.
You don't really want a big dog like that because they need a range,
Yes.
and they get very bored very quickly if they only have a limited amount of space. And most people are living in limited space. Let's face it. So you can't keep a Pyrenees mountain dog in your 100 square meter flat,
Yeah.
right?
I always feel sorry for the classic sheepdogs, that you would normally see
Running.
herding sheep in enormous fields
Yeah.
at great speeds.
Yeah.
And
And
then
they're
you see
living
them
in
being walked
an
around
apartment.
Parkhurst, I'm
Yeah.
like,
All right. Well, there we go. So now you know, everybody. By the way, I saw the funniest video this morning. And guys, maybe you can try and find a clip of this, of the Village People. I showed Leigh-Ann. You know, the Village People who did YMCA? Like that song was already out before we were born, I think, or
Yes.
certainly when we were very young. I mean,
Yeah.
it's old. The Village People must be in their 80s. And Donald Trump invited them on stage to do YMCA because, famously there's that, I think, yeah, how does he go?
yes, like he's got
Why-
a towel.
Yeah. Bill Maher always jokes that he's jerking off two guys because he goes like this.
Yes.
So the YMCA Village People, and they went on stage at his, he did like a victory rally in Washington, D.C. I think it's just pretty funny because people always think that he's, this tremendously conservative guy, and they forget that he was a Democrat in New York for most of his life, and he has very little problem with, people who don't fall into the norm, and the YMCA has become like a gay anthem, and Trump doesn't give a damn about that. He's cool with it.
Quite interestingly, they were active from 1977.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, so they're that old.
But now listen, Those ones that you see are not the originals.
Oh, really?
I'll tell you why.
Are they dead?
The members, there are always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's an ant on this microphone. Which
Marabunta.
You see, this is how it
There's an
starts.
ant.
This is how it starts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Marabuntu.
There's 6
Killer
members.
ants.
There it is. Oh my gosh. You see what you've
There's
done.
a reason this came up this morning,
See,
Leigh-Ann.
you
See,
see.
they're coming to get you.
So there's
They're going
6,
to carry you away in your sleep.
6 current members. Guess how many past members?
How many? She's counting. She's actually counting.
20.
No, they're 20. Oh, wow. So it's
I don't think we're dealing with the originals.
It's a
Maybe
bit of
1
a-
or 2.
it's a revolving door. Here we go. Look.
Oh,
There he
gosh.
is. You got to love that guy. I mean, come on.
See how young they are.
There we go. Look at him. Oh, that's great. Oh, you got that off TikTok, which apparently he's already reversing the decision, and TikTok is available in America in certain places already. But isn't that great? I mean, dancing on the stage, like, that's already cooler than like Joe Biden, who couldn't even stay on a bicycle or walk straight in a line or figure out where the steps were already.
I'm sorry, I feel hugely embarrassed watching him dancing. He can't dance.
But it
He
is
has no
funny.
rhythm.
Oh, come on. You don't have no problem with, you
No,
didn't have
it's
a
an
problem with
ick. It's
you
an
didn't
ick.
you didn't have a problem with Madiba doing his old shuffle, but you have a problem with Trump doing his horrible
Madiba
dance.
did it in time.
Oh, come on.
Soz.
Oh, come on. You got Trump derangement syndrome. That's what you do.
TDS.
I've got a pill for that. Hang on. Find it. Get it
Tedious.
just now.
TDS, tedious.
It is. It's tedious to have TDS. You got to get over that. We've got a lot to talk about this morning. One of the other things that came up, and by the way, you can join us in the comment section. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you're up to. We were going to have Rob Hersov in here. He's in Joburg and he was going to come and see us, but he sent me a message at like 5:30 this morning that there's something he's dealing with and he won't be able to make it. It would have been fun because we would have talked about everything except politics, but we'll get him in at a later stage. He's always fun to talk to. Rob, of course, is an entrepreneur and investor. He's known for his no hold back comments on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
He's like tight with Gayton McKenzie, and he has lots to say about the government and national unity, but he's also involved in helping a lot of small businesses and medium-sized businesses in South Africa. So he's got a nice view on how to get ahead in South Africa. There was this ridiculous thing that I think Park Stow, who was the mayor of Johannesburg,
Yes.
have you heard what he said?
No.
He reckons they must tax businesses another 3% and then use that money as like a BEE fund.
Oh, okay.
So the businesses that are making money, and it's hard to make money in South Africa. It really is. It's very, very tough to do this. I don't think you'll meet any businessman who goes, oh, please, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
It's really bloody hard. Now he wants to, Park Stow, take another 3% in corporate tax, business tax, because it's not just corporations that get nailed by this. It's small and medium enterprises who are the biggest employers in the country. They must now pay an extra 3%, according to him, to government so that they can set up some fund, which we know is going to just enrich all their friends, right? Like that's what BEE's done. It's helped very few people in business.
I see. I don't understand because BEE, the whole concept in itself, is helping
No, it hasn't.
those people.
Yeah, it's helped their friends.
And
People like our
now they
president.
want to take.
Our president was the chief and foremost beneficiary of BEE, our president. I mean, this is not a guy who would have been able to start these businesses on his own. BEE made Cyril rich, okay? And it made a couple of other people, a handful, you can name them. Tokyo Sehwale. You know, there are a bunch of people who were all connected to the ANC who got very rich very quickly. But the average black business person in this country is in just the same position they were in before BEE. It's as hard as it can possibly be. They never get any of this trickle-down stuff that the ANC is always talking about. And now they want to fine people. That's what it is. It's holding a gun to people's heads and saying, if you don't pay more tax, we'll arrest you. It's ridiculous. This is parasitic, and we should just not tolerate this crap. We talked about Javier Milei earlier from Argentina. He wants to cut 90% of the existing taxes in Argentina.
Jeez.
And he reckons they only need 10% of what they're currently taking in to run the government. Because you can fire most of those people in government. And we should take a leaf out of his book. But of course we won't. We should, though. I don't know why I went down that, because that was something I wanted to talk to Rob Hersov about. Anyway, we got other stuff on. James is going to give us some sport just now. While we're talking about Johannesburg and Park Stour, who used to be the mayor. So we're not the only country with potholes. I know that we like to think that Joburg is the only city that ever existed.
Like load shedding, we believe.
It was just us.
We think that nobody else in the world knows what it is.
No, absolutely. But there's a place called Pontfadog. No, really. I'm trying to link it to the dog discussion we had earlier, but it's not working. It's called Pontfadog. It's in Wrexham in England. They turned their pothole-ridden road into a humorous tourist attraction. They called it Pothole Land and made it like a, look at this. They made it like a, something exciting that you could visit. Like a
Pothole Land.
Here we go. Take a look. Pothole Land. Isn't that great? They put up a sign. And then you can see there are pictures of all the roads. That's a bad road, right?
Yeah. Is that even a pothole? It's a bad road.
It's terrible. But it is funny. So they say we have the deepest, longest, widest potholes in all of Wales.
That is a long pothole.
The move, which is aimed at drawing attention to the road's poor conditions, prompted the council to begin repairs. Although many potholes remain only partially filled. That sounds familiar. Locals, including a farmer who's struggling to navigate the road, expressed frustration. Oh, I am so angry. You can imagine a Welsh farmer. I am very angry with this government.
Is he also the only gay in the village?
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, who knows? The farmers in Wales, you can never tell. Repairs have started and residents fear bad weather will undo the progress. Oh, such bad weather.
Well, that's the problem
are we going
there,
to
isn't
get
it?
through this? What?
It's continuously raining. How do you get to fix these
We
things?
had 2 weeks of nonstop rain in Johannesburg, and we couldn't stop complaining, right? You imagine living in like southern Wales, nonstop rain all the time. Anyway, who was coughing just now? James, is that your flex? Jesus, what's going on there? Have you got pleurisy? I think he's on his. I think James is on his way out. Everybody, I think he coughed. Did you hear that just now?
I didn't. No,
it sounded like a tractor engine.
I must have been hyper focused.
Do you vape, James? I know you smoke, but do you vape? Okay. How embarrassing! It sounded like popcorn lung.
This is James's last sport.
It's James's last sport. Come and sit down, James, before you die. So popcorn lung.
Popcorn lung doesn't sound like that. Popcorn lung is when there is small crackles.
Yeah, that's what it sounded
as you're
like.
Breathing.
That's what it sounded like. When at the end, it had like a death rattle in it. So I told you I bought that one vape at New Year.
Yeah.
And it's still going. I can't bring myself to vape like continuously. And it certainly was like a one-off thing for me. Didn't like the way I felt the morning after. So that song, Black Hole Sun.
Yes, you had the black hole lung.
I had popcorn lung, won't you come?
Oh, no.
It was terrible. So here he is for the last time before he dies of some lung-related disease.
That's hectic.
Here's producer James.
Hello.
Hello, James. So what happened?
Lots of sport this weekend.
No,
actually.
I mean with your lung.
Oh, I've just been fighting a demon. Quite a lot for the last
really? A demon?
week or so. Yeah.
What happened? Is Marabantu?
It might
Killer
be.
ants, Marabunta. What is it? I can't even remember what it is.
Marabantu.
Marabuntu.
I
Killer
can't even
ants.
laugh
There we
because
go.
it aggravates my popcorn lung. It's quite bad, actually. I hate not being able to laugh. So
So
that's what I'm
what?
doing.
Have you really got something? Are you sick with something?
I am a little bit sick, yeah. I was off last week for like a day.
Leigh-Ann couldn't move further to her side of the sofa.
That's why I'm
now.
sitting all the way over here.
All right, so tell us what's happening in the world of sport. You're not here for your
Popcorn
health.
lung.
We're not here to
I
talk
hear
about
you.
your health.
So there's quite a lot of football this weekend. The CAF Champions League took place. Pirates, they remain unbeaten after winning in Egypt against Al Ahly. They topped their group going into the knockout stage of the CAF Champions League. Sundowns, they also joined them in the knockouts after finishing second in their group behind AS FAR. The Premier League happened this weekend.
Yes.
Liverpool winning ways.
Now, after your terrific and historic win against Accrington Stanley. What did Liverpool win this time? Who did they beat this time?
We terrifically and historically beat Brentford 2-0.
Okay, well, Brentford, not as great as Accrington Stanley.
No.
I really feel that was peak starting the year on the right foot stuff.
That's as good as it gets this
I
season
think so.
for us. Yeah, we
Yeah.
could win any trophy, but the Accrington Stanley game was top quality. We beat Brentford 2-0. Top of the log still. We love Arsenal. They drew to Aston Villa 2-2. VAR took a goal away from them this past week, and they haven't had a lot of good luck with VAR recently. Man United, they lost again to Brighton this time. Ben's feedback is Man United are very shit. That's all he has written.
Okay, well, I don't disagree.
It's
Not
not
just
wrong.
shit, but
Flex, you got a
very.
problem with that, though, hey? He's just quiet. He wants nothing to do with it. He's not sure if he wants people to know he's a Man United fan.
Wow.
Go on.
Liverpool now lead the log by 6 points with a game in hand. So all signs are pointing to a Premier League win for Liverpool. That's all I'm saying. And maybe a Champions League win. I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
Okay.
There was also rugby this weekend, Investic Champions Cup. The Sharks got thrashed 12-66 by Bordeaux. The Bulls hammered Stade France 48-7, and the Stormers lost to Racing 31-22. They didn't lose 92. The team they played was Racing 92. The score was 31-22.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers there for a moment.
Just had to clarify. All three teams failed to progress to the knockout stages, but will now compete in the secondary cup, the EPCR Challenge Cup, which,
That sounds
if you remember,
horrible.
is Ben's acronym cup from
This
last
is
year.
rugby, right?
This is rugby. That was the Investic Champions Cup.
I'm so confused. Aren't we? I mean, I know it's the Springboks who are the champions, but do the Springboks play in these other teams as well?
No,
Yes,
no.
some of them do.
What, oh, do you mean they play for
actual
their club
players,
team?
yes,
some
yeah,
of
yeah,
them.
yeah. So they play. A lot of the Springboks play for the Sharks.
Why were we so shit?
Yeah, look, the Springbok setup is a different beast. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's just a whole different setup on its
A
own.
well-oiled machine.
From grassroots. Speaking of not well-oiled machines, cricket happened this weekend. We all love cricket. I know that, so I'm going to make this real easy for us. MI Cape Town recorded an important win against the Joburg Super Kings to move top of the table. The big winners on the weekend were the Power Royals, who chased down 213 to beat the Pretoria Capitals. That's it for the cricket. Yeah, I know.
You did it.
I did. The playoffs, those start on the 4th of Feb. And then lastly, the UFC happened this weekend. Islam Makhachev, and I can't say this guy's name still, even though I've tried to practice it. Same guy from Friday, Merab
I don't think you've practiced it or tried.
I think this is a very poor show. But then you do have your
really
lungs to worry about, so who knows?
You managed 2 syllables.
Unbelievable.
Basically, those two guys, they won and defended their title in the bantamweight and the lightweight classes at UFC 311.
Yeah, so Bitcoin Bot says UFC was like a main event was unfortunately a last minute change, and it was inevitable that it was going to end early.
We have Trickers fighting next month.
Yes, that's a big deal. Oh, and then Kala wants to talk about the Calabash concert yesterday,
yes.
which was great. I saw that Warris was there, but I would have loved to have gone to that. It was just too last minute. Someone offered me tickets on like Friday night. And
would you really have?
I think I would have. Hey, I mean, I don't like a crowd, you know that. But it was what Green Day, Offspring, Folk of Polisikar. Yeah,
You
it
like
was a good lineup.
Which one of those suited your fancy?
I always liked the Offspring. I know a lot of their songs. I know the lyrics kind of by heart.
Yeah,
and Green Day as well. I mean,
yeah.
I think I could call myself a fan of those.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
you would have liked it too.
Robbie Williams is doing the Cape Town leg of it. If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
No, but he's meant to be coming here as well. You're not a fan of Robbie Williams?
No, don't like his music at all.
Did you see he had a biography movie made?
Yeah.
Where he's
a biopic.
Yeah, he's a CGI monkey though.
Yeah, well, that's about right.
And apparently it bombed heavily, so they'd spent like $110 million as a budget for the whole film, and it only made like $4 million on the first weekend or something ridiculous.
I saw him being interviewed about that, and he does have a facial structure that resembles a monkey.
Kind of weird, actually. Yeah.
Well, okay. That's not what I don't. When I pretty much see every other human being as being an ape of some kind, because we kind of
We
are.
kind of are.
But Robbie Williams not
No, he
especially
does.
ape-like.
Even
Yeah.
his
A little
top,
bit.
his top lip.
You reckon?
Yeah, the indentation. There's
Okay.
something about
I
That's
it.
think it's
novel.
the plastic surgery.
Maybe.
He's an incredible showman, says Congo Chris. I would recommend his concerts highly. Okay, well, yes. I mean, we did grow up, Lee says in the comments, with Offspring and Green Day.
I did go to his concert. In fact, I met him at his, they have those press release, press conference things. And at that stage of his career, he was notorious for having a line of girls come and go to his
Yeah, of
hotel
course.
room.
Yeah, well, why not?
Yeah.
What else are they going to do? Be on TikTok?
And I know one
Wasn't
of the
around
girls
then.
who went in that
Of course
queue.
you did. She was a good friend of yours, right?
She was actually more a friend of yours than mine.
Oh, you must tell me which one after the show.
Oh, well,
That's exciting. So she and Robbie got acquainted.
I reckon.
Okay, good. If you're a rock star, what else? What are you going to do? He was growing vegetables for aliens at
I
some
didn't
point, wasn't he?
criticize him.
Yeah. He was big into aliens, Robbie Williams. I remember there was something about that. But I remember I met him because I introduced him. I brought him on stage at the
Yes.
Durban leg of his tour that he was last here for. So, I mean, I can't say we spoke for a long time, but I got to meet him. He seemed quite friendly, fun, happy guy. I mean, you got to be if you get out of Take That. The world just gets better. But yeah, he's coming here soon. I don't know if there are any. This is a tough one because I always like it when I'm at the concert, but the getting there and the getting out always makes me really unhappy. So, I once hired a helicopter to take me to the Bieber concert.
Yes.
And then we were meant to go to the meet and greet.
Yeah.
And I was late. So they went past me in a golf cart as I came in.
Oh.
I was like, okay, well, that's fine.
That was your meet.
I watched the concert, but it was nice to arrive in a helicopter.
Yes.
That was the best
Yeah,
part.
actually, that was one of the most difficult concerts to get out of. I
Yeah.
was in a car
Right.
trying
Peasant.
to get out.
You peasant in
Wow.
your car.
And I was in
I think I
VIP
flew over you
parking.
at some point.
Wow.
Yeah, you must have.
Yeah.
In the traffic.
I think
Who-
I waved at you, but you were very cross. You went, I could see you from your car window in the dark. I think we shone our lights right on your car.
I enjoyed that concert.
Who was the most iconic
Oh, dude, I don't know.
performer you guys?
Can I tell you
ever
something?
seen?
I
Michael Jackson.
I've been
him
so
too,
lucky
for
to
sure.
go to so many of these shows, but there's some that I missed that I wish I'd been around for, either because I'm was born too late or because for some reason I wasn't around or I didn't go or whatever the reason was. And there's something about a live show that's completely different to anything that you can do listening on your own. And I love to listen to music on my own. I'm very happy to do that. But man, some of these shows have been absolutely fun every step of the way. And it's always the ones that you least expect. I remember I was blown away by Dionne Warwick, of all things.
Amazing singer.
You look at how confused James is. He's like, who the fuck's
That's
that?
Whitney's
Whitney's aunt. She's still alive. And Whitney Houston has, she had probably the greatest voice of any woman that's ever lived.
Good pipes.
But Dionne Warwick is a spectacular performer. And I mean, she was already probably in her early 70s by the time I saw her. But she went and changed outfits like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
She sang the songs. Her voice is different now. It's like a little more croaky, a little older, a little less strong than it used to be. But man, can that woman sing. So, it's ones like that you see. I remember people are talking about Roxette. People are talking about the Killers. I've had a lot of we saw Metallica. And I've seen I saw Ja Rule, which was also very cool.
Ja Rule is
Remember the Ja Rule
great.
concert? Jamiroquai. Someone was killed in the parking lot at the Ja Rule concert.
I remember I was very, very afraid driving into that concert. I opened the window about this big and said to the parking guy who was directing everyone, and I went, VIP, and rolled the window back up.
Oh, right. Okay.
But that when I was leaving that concert, people were rocking my car and bashing into their bodies into my car. It was pretty scary.
Yeah, it was fun though. What a great show. part of the fun, Leigh-Ann, is you never know what's going to happen in the parking lot afterwards.
Linkin
Lee
Park
says,
was another fantastic
Linkin Park
one.
was
I've heard
great too.
Linkin Park
Lady
live's
Gaga
good,
was
yeah.
good. Lee says, I would have loved to see Queen and Pink Floyd.
Queen for sure,
Queen,
yeah.
Queen did Sun City once. I would have loved to have seen Tina Turner as well. That would have been quite something. She's just awesome. I think I spoke about this on the show the other day, that she just pitched up at some après-ski place and started performing. And she's like almost 90, I think.
Sure.
You imagine that? You're getting drunk in the Alps and suddenly like Tina Turner. Oh, man. Foo Fighters in Melbourne was incredible. Phil Collins, Bruce Springsteen, U2. Linkin Park with their amazing new singer. Matt's going to
the
see them
new
at
singer,
Wembley this year.
yes.
Letlotlo says Michael Bublé. Really?
Mm.
Okay, all right. Johnny Clegg, Nickelback, Guns N' Roses. There are lots of them coming through now. You've opened up
A bunch.
you've opened up a smorgasbord of concerts that people want to go to.
Well, I just ask because there's like levels to these things. Some are iconic. Some
who
are...
would you really want to see?
Who would I really want to see? I wish I could have seen Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Oh,
Mm.
definitely.
For sure.
I think I did,
I did too.
but it wasn't. It was in a history tour,
yes.
and it was. He
I was very young. I was
yeah. We were.
like
Oh, I saw.
pre-teen.
Yeah, I do remember him. Yeah, he was great. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, he's Michael Jackson. Like the crowd was more excited than any other crowd I've ever been.
Yeah.
I also remember seeing Toto at the Standard Bank Arena.
Oh, that's amazing.
I saw Aha just before COVID, and that was very cool.
I did see you too.
Yeah, I did. I think I saw them as well.
You too.
Bless Bridges was the shit, says Common Sense. Yes, of course. Rammstein, says Slippery Pickle. They were never here, though. How do I book Rammstein to do a fundraiser for the California wildfires? The Red Hot Chili Peppers, Smashing Pumpkins. I mean, I do think there's something like you can see a rapper. I know people who went to see Eminem. I missed that one. But you can go and see a rapper, and it's cool, and I love rap, but there's something about a rock concert. It's like,
Mm.
you know, that's a big deal. And I see some of these concerts that they've done in America where they've got like the whole orchestra there. That's an unbelievable thing. I've seen Billy Joel. I've seen Elton John. I mean, there's great concerts, right?
I saw Dr. Alban.
Oh, really?
That was my first
Dr.
concert.
Alban.
Yeah. Hello, Africa. Tell me how you're doing.
Yeah, there we go.
He changed outfits 3 times.
That's awesome.
But they were the same outfits, just in different colors. And they were sequin shorts and sequin vests.
Awesome. Yeah, okay. All right, get out of here, James.
Okay.
Now you've got us on a tangent. You want to spend the whole Marabuntu. Check out, make sure that there are no more ants on the microphones, will you? Yeah.
That was just one lone ant.
No, Leigh-Ann. It always starts with one. And before you know it, they're all over the whole studio and they're carrying you away.
It came from your side. I'm feeling itchy now.
I don't know. It's just, I don't know why I remember it, but it was so bad.
It's the most weird
right.
movie to remember.
So I'm gonna tell you how you can survive being buried alive.
Oh, I just got to take a breath there. It's very claustrophobic.
So if you wake up in a coffin,
It happens, people.
you must first take your shirt, put it over your
Oh, yeah.
nose and mouth, because you're going to, once you break through the coffin, you're going to have
the sand.
and dirt.
Oh,
So
so
you're
you're
gonna have to
thinking positively, like
punch.
you'll be able to.
Oh yeah, I'll get out. I'll get out. You've got to
Mm,
punch through the lid. Okay, it's going to take like lots of short punches. If you've ever watched Kill Bill, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Then you have to, like, because you're going to have dirt, you must push it all to the feet of the coffin and then like lift yourself
But
up.
it's pretty deep, a coffin.
Oh yeah,
hey?
it's like 6 foot, I think, down
Yes,
there.
underground.
Anyway, you're going to do a bit of digging, but like that's how you survive the initial part of it. So you have to break through there, and then you have to push all the dirt to the bottom, use that to kind of prop yourself up, and then start pushing through the lid, and then you'll have to dig. But it'll still be fairly easy because
It's fresh sand.
yeah, you wouldn't have been like buried 2 weeks
Yeah,
and then
it's
wake
not
up. You know?
compacted.
So I thought that was important this
But you
morning.
must also, when your hands come out of
Yes, you must
the
go.
ground, you must go like,
Yeah, you must go like this, like a zombie would, so that you frighten people.
yeah.
Especially if there happens to be like a grave digger nearby and he's busy with another grave. You must,
And also
then-
your nails might have grown, because remember those carry
Yes.
on growing
and
after
there'll
you
be lots
die.
of dirt under them.
Yes.
Yes,
You must make them
but
like
you must do that hand
disconfigured.
thing. Yeah, right.
What? Disfigured.
And you push the dirt upwards and out. You mustn't try and dig.
swim through it.
Yeah, you must push it up.
Up.
Okay, so now you know.
Oh, I'm so glad, because when it happens later, I didn't know what I was going to do.
We're here to help. What can I tell you? All right, so let's go. Let's take a look at some of the things that are going on in the news quickly. There are a few stories that are worthy of our attention this morning. There was a woman called Nicole Paulino, who's a Maryland resident. She was mistakenly declared dead due to a social security number typo, which caused her health insurance to be cancelled, left her unable to renew her driver's license or access necessary medication.
It's like being buried alive.
That's it. That's why they linked, you see. The error was caused by a funeral home reporting the wrong number. It led to severe emotional and financial distress. After intervention, the Social Security Administration corrected the mistake, officially restoring her status as alive.
Jeez.
So it's not
Imagine
so much
not having anyone believe you.
Well, it's not so much being dead or alive. It's like all the shit that they just cancel straight away as soon as they find out that you're dead.
I tell you what, it's not like that here. I think we tried to cancel my aunt's Vodacom account for about a year.
Oh, the SABC is still going over after people who died 15 years ago. They are. Hi, have you paid your license?
Mhm.
No, she's been dead since 2002. Okay, we'll call next week. Why? Because you think she might be alive again?
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, then I thought this was quite interesting too. Oh, look there. Oh, shame. Is that the woman? Shame she's not dead. I mean, she's boring, but she's not dead. Right? Shame.
She's very upset.
Maybe she also lost her house in the California wildfires. That's bad, right?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Those
I do have
pictures.
I know that you compared bigger buildings like shops that had been burnt down versus not. I do have some photographs of the fires from AP showing houses that survived. So obviously that one on the left there surviving, not a very pretty house.
It's a hideous house.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm so glad it wasn't only me who thought that.
Oh, what an ugly house.
I was like, which one is, it looks damaged, but when I zoomed in, it wasn't damaged.
It's not damaged?
No.
It looks like it. Oh, shame. Look at that. Ugh.
Houses right next to each other.
Wow.
Where some had been saved. A lot of it was just due to luck.
So that one right at the top there, that's okay.
The one right at the top of the mountain overlooking all of that
Oh my
carnage.
God. Wow, that has got to suck. Imagine you get back and your neighbor's house is fine and you hate them.
Uh,
and your house is like, ugh, that's got to
like
be so
this one
terrible.
struck me because he's there cleaning his driveway.
Yeah.
Look at his neighbor's car. His house is completely unharmed.
In fact, that guy on the right who's busy cleaning his driveway, he's very upset that neighbor's got a derelict car just sitting there and
How
makes
unsightly.
his house look bad, you know? I mean, you can see he's quite fastidious and house proud. He's keeping his driveway clean and that fucker next door just has this burnt out car there. I mean, how rude.
You know, that smell though lasts.
Yeah, go back to the
forever.
hood, guy on the left. You know, you're ruining the neighborhood property. The property prices are just going to drop to an all-time low because those people next door have a burnt out car in their driveway. Terrible.
Yeah, all the Karens.
Sure. Look at that. Okay, so we've got a picture here for those people listening to the podcast. It's basically you just got devastation everywhere. And there's one big house right in the front here that's like, it's fine.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
I wonder if those people feel bad.
Well,
You know, like
I wouldn't
survivor's
say
remorse.
that.
you
I
know?
wouldn't say that there's no damage because you've got the smell and you've got the ash.
Oh, that's true.
Those things last. I mean,
Yeah.
Again, I had to evacuate a house because of a fire, and that stuff lingers. Wow.
Oh, yeah. A friend of mine's kitchen burnt down last year, and he's had to replace almost everything because the smoke is, even though the rest of his house was mostly okay.
Yeah.
What are you going to do, you know?
So those houses might
pretty
look
horrific.
okay, but
You know,
not
we don't really have, like, I know that these wildfires in California are a fairly regular occurrence. It's like in Australia, they often have these fires, and everything in Australia is flammable. All their vegetation, right? They've got like eucalyptus trees, which
But
basically.
it is mainly just vegetation
Yeah.
and wildlife.
Well,
are
it's because
affected.
there are only 25 Australians. And
they all live on the outside near the
right,
sea.
exactly. So most of them are, there's a great big fire,
the Blue
several
Mountains.
thousand kilometers. And, no one lives there. It's like the Free State. I mean,
Yeah.
if the Free State had to burn down, we'd lose 5 houses.
Oh my gosh. No people there, man.
But we don't really have severe natural disasters at that level. We don't really get cyclones, hurricanes, tornadoes.
We have big
very occasionally.
Cape fires in the Cape and
We do.
winelands that get destroyed.
That sometimes happens. We often have fires in Cape Town itself, Table Mountain often, and a lot of these are set by people, which means they're not natural disasters. We get floods occasionally, but not on the level that, like, you remember when they had...
We wouldn't make international news necessarily
exactly.
with
So
our...
We don't have volcanoes either. We don't have big earthquakes, really. We have a couple small, low-level earthquakes.
We just have people that fuck things up.
That's a big natural disaster.
Yes.
I'd say
People
that is
are nature, aren't
that's
they?
our real challenge, is the natural disaster of people who screw things up.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's a lot of noise, obviously, around today, which is going to be Trump's inauguration. It happens around lunchtime, American time, which means about 7 o'clock in the evening, South African time. I don't know.
So that rally with him with the village people would have been what, last night?
Last night.
There last night.
Yeah, American last night.
Yeah.
And I think Elon made an appearance on stage, said he is going to help make society better so that we can figure out a way to get off this planet eventually. So he wants to solve some of our problems for now, but he said if we want to survive as a species for another 1,000 years, we're going to have to find other planets to live on. Because we're not, this one's not going to last. The sun is eventually going to consume us. I mean, that's in millions of years. He thinks like that.
Do you think Trump thinks that too? Isn't he doesn't believe in global warming, does he?
No, I don't know. He said, we don't know everything. We're going to have to find out some more, which is probably the sensible position to take. I don't know. But I don't think that the world has suddenly become more dangerous because of him. And a lot of people who are talking about these California wildfires, including people on the left who are very big on climate change, they try to put all the blame there. Now, there's nothing humans can do. There's certainly nothing Californian humans can do to prevent global warming because they're already responsible for a very, very tiny percentage of like carbon emissions, if that's what they tell us is the problem, right? And China is opening up new power plants every other day. And you're not going to get laws made in America that are going to force China to stop doing that, or India.
Yeah.
So what you've got to do is deal with what you've got. And the countries that are the biggest like climate change activists are the ones that have so little effect on it anyway, that it's not going to help if they reduce their emissions to zero. It's not going to make a difference. It'll raise temperatures by like 0.3 degrees in 100 years. That's what it'll do. Yeah. And frankly, there are a lot of scientists who are saying now, and you've got to be able to pay attention to this stuff because you're not a climate change denier. If you say, let's look at what else is going on. Apparently, this is a good time for plants. Plants love carbon dioxide. Plants are, these levels of CO2,
eat it up.
these levels of CO2 are the lowest levels of CO2 if you take historical time and you look at like the last ice age. You can do these ice cores that they've done through, several million years of history. And you'll be able to see when certain gases were more prominent in the atmosphere and when certain ones weren't. And obviously, around the time of the dinosaurs, there was way more CO2 in the air. And everywhere was like jungle. And it needed to be because these enormous animals that obviously evolved because there was enough vegetation for them to eat.
Yeah.
These animals were roaming the planet bigger than any other animals that have ever lived. And they only could exist at that size because of the amount of vegetation that they were eating. I mean, imagine the poo of a brontosaurus.
Very spinachy and long.
Very, but also very, like, enormous, right? Because these things would just eat tons and tons of vegetation a day.
Yeah. I mean, you think of how much an elephant eats.
We are worried about, too much CO2 in the atmosphere. But frankly, there are parts of the world that are greener than they've ever been right now. And it's not just because of CO2. It's because of reforestation. People are planting trees. People are looking after places. I know we're all worried about the Amazon. I am too. But there are parts of the earth that have never been this green, not in human history. And we've also got to realize, like, we can't actually control everything. There are a lot of people in the world who think that we can change everything, that we're able to.
And that everything's our fault.
Everything's our fault, but that, we can fight nature. And like, actually, you can't. And there are things that are going to happen, like wildfires in California, that may or may not have been, and certainly there were arsonists lighting fires as well.
Yes.
But once those things start, there's very little that humans can actually do. They could be better organized. They could have had more water. I heard fire hydrants were empty, all of that stuff. But there's very little humans can do in the face of overwhelming natural disasters. And the word natural is kind of important here because nature is in control of those things, whether it's flooding or it's wildfires or it's earthquakes or whatever else. And humans, with all our technological know-how, are pretty much powerless in the face of an earthquake.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. California, I remember when I was a kid, we heard about the San Andreas fault.
Yes.
You remember this? And it's never gone away. It's always been a thing. That at some
when
point,
we first heard about it, we were like, why do people live there?
Right.
Why on earth would you visit?
And the San Andreas fault is still a thing.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about this terrible made-for-TV movie about the killer ants.
Yes.
Marabunta or whatever it was, okay? There are also horrible made-for-TV movies about the San Andreas fault opening up.
Absolutely.
I've seen some of these because they're hilarious. They're really badly made. The CGI is terrible, but it's worth watching because you laugh more than like get caught up in the action. And the San Andreas fault is a major fault line that will eventually open up. It might take 100 years. It might take 1,000,000 years. We don't know. But humans, we occupy a tiny little piece of the entire space of the earth, right? Most of it we can't live on because it's water. And then other parts of it are uninhabitable. They're either too cold or too hot, or there's too much dense forest, or there's ice, or there's whatever. We can't live in those conditions. We're not built for it. So we think because we've managed to terraform and landscape our gardens or plant farms in the desert, we think that we can do anything. There's a lot that we can't do.
No, exactly.
We've got to be a little bit more humble about these things. And look out for marabunta killer ants, all right? Because they're going to take you away one night. That's my biggest fear, Leigh-Ann. I sometimes come in here in the morning and when you walk in, I'm like, she didn't get taken by the ants.
Listen, if I was taken by ants, I'd be flattered. If they could move me, I'd be flattered.
I think it's so great.
I would tell everybody.
Oh, man. All right. So there are a lot of people talking about one of the things with the LA fires is that the LA fire chief is a lesbian. And
right,
her emphasis as fire chief has been diversity and equity and inclusion, DEI. And I think her deputy, who's also
what does that have to do with
she's also a big
fires?
lesbian. You would think it doesn't matter, but in LA it does, right? So her deputy's also a big lesbian,
okay.
But the fire chief's a white big lesbian. The deputy fire chief is a black big lesbian,
right.
And the black big lesbian deputy fire chief, when she was asked what you couldn't carry a grown man out of a fire, she said, well, if he finds himself in a situation where I have to drag him out, he's in the wrong place.
What?
Yeah. We're like, guys.
These people are putting inclusion over fighting fires.
Yes. And then she said, you know what's very important? So that's the mayor on the right, and that's the fire chief, the lesbian fire chief on the left. I mean, I think she could carry me out of a fire, but that's just me. Karen Bass, the mayor, standing on the right there.
Still tight-lipped.
She was in Ghana when the fires
That's
broke
right.
out. She was there for an inauguration. She apparently thinks she's a fucking diplomat or something. But useless mayor. And the funny thing about that deputy fire chief is that she said it's really important when you call the fire department, she says, that someone who looks like you comes to save you.
I don't care.
Look it up.
Okay.
I'm not making this up.
I do kind of care what they look like.
This was in a video. It's in a video that she released.
That's so bad.
She says, I think it's really important that, people feel when they call the fire department because they've got a fire, that whoever pitches up looks like her. I'm sorry. I don't give a damn when I call emergency services for anything, and it hasn't, thank God, happened that many times in my life. But if I had to call them, I don't care whether you're old, young, black, white, male, female.
Fat, thin.
It doesn't interest me as long as you can do what I need you to do.
Yeah.
In that emergency, right? And it seems bizarre to me that the emphasis was put on this stuff.
It's absolutely bizarre. The only time it's okay to want a fire person to look some way is if he appears at your house topless, wearing
for like a
braces,
like a
and
like a
holding
gorillagram, like to sing a birthday song.
Yeah,
right. Okay, but that's a stripper, Leigh-Ann. You know those are not real fire. I know that this might.
Lord Jesus is a fire.
I know this is going to upset you, but those aren't actually real firemen. Those are strippers pretending to be firemen.
Wasn't there?
It's like the LA fire chief. She's not really a fireman. She's a lesbian activist pretending to be a fireman.
There was an incident, man, a gathering, and there was a surprise appearance of. Oh no!
Oh, here we go. It's from her own life. Wait, she's just remembered.
No, it was in the news.
What happened?
There were a whole lot of people in a closed space for some big event, but it was like a strippers event.
Oh.
And then there was a real fire, and firemen rushed in, and everyone thought they were the strippers. So they didn't run out. They just started cheering and clapping and woo! And the firemen were like, "Get the fuck out!"
Oh, that's great. I love it.
That was it.
All right. Very, very good. That's all we got time for this morning, I'm afraid. And enjoy your inauguration day. If you're a Trump supporter, then you'll have a fun day. Maybe watch it with some friends.
You've got a red, white, and blue mug.
Yeah, but that's about all I got. I should have worn my Make America Great Again hat. However, I was invited to a viewing party tonight. I can't go. I'm going to be on a CakeNet show with Lorenza Eckart tonight, talking about
look at that,
Trump's return to power. So yeah, I make a small, quiet return to TV for about, 15 minutes or however long the segment is that I'm on. So that's what I'm doing. And then we're back on Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. So enjoy your day, everybody. Have a happy week and be as productive as possible. And don't worry about the stupid stuff, like Dr. Hanan said this morning. And we're going to get him in here and he can sit on the sofa with us and talk for a whole day. And if you do
worry about something, it's because you value it, which is a good thing.
Yeah. But also he did say, careful where you put your focus. He is telling his patients, and we will spread this message for him because it's good advice. You've got to build your own firewall to keep out the crap. And that's going to be my theme for the year. Right, let's get going. We will see you on Wednesday.